Yeah, people clapping, that's good. So is this going to be rock concerts in 2029? Hell no! When I go to rock concerts, I want real rock and rollers, with tattoos, with attitude, and with feelings. But 2029 is still going to be quite different from today. Maybe you don't have a normal job. You probably won't own your own car. And the hamburger you're eating was probably made in a laboratory. Now, that may not sound as a perfect future, does it? But trust me, it's all part of a bright future, and we'll get to that. So, why 2029? Well, in 2029, a cheap $1,000 computer will have the same compute power as your brain. 10 to the power of 16 calculations per second, if anyone is interested. Now, that makes a cheap computer able to do all the cognitive stuff that we humans are able to do, only faster, cheaper, and with less error. And today, that same cheap computer has the compute power of a mouse brain. So this will be a huge leap. And this changes everything. So join me into a journey into the near but yet so different future. So I'm Lars. I'm heading up Amesto Nextbridge, which is probably the most experienced consultancy in Norway in terms of data-driven insight and innovation. So when people talk about AI, we implement AI every day. We've done so for the past 6 years. And we like to do, the strange stuff, which is borderline research, borderline consulting. So we have decoded how bees communicate with each other to tell the rest of the bees where they find food. And they do this inside the beehive. Of course, we use computer vision. Quite interesting. Helps reduce bee mortality. We have made prediction models where you can find krill, the small crayfish, in the Antarctic Ocean on any given day, using NASA satellite data, using moon phases, and even connecting to blue whales and using them as sensors. And we also helped the International Red Cross examining thousands and thousands of free text reports regarding COVID-19. So we used natural language processing to do this. So you probably understand that we like to do, the strange stuff and also the stuff that is good for the planet. You might call it AI for good. So let's get this out of the way right away, because I am an optimist by nature. I'm also a tech optimist. So now you know that this is going to be an optimistic talk. But there's so much negativity, isn't there, in the news about robots, stealing your jobs, sex robots replacing you in bed. It actually exists already. And some people even think that robots are going to take over the whole world and eliminate all the human beings. So there's no lack of doomsday prediction. Well, this is not going to be a talk like that. This is going to be a positive outlook, maybe even more positive than Luke, my previous speaker. So I'm going to look at how technology can actually address the big questions in life. Poverty, famine, environmental problems, and even disease. So it might be borderline naive. It will definitely be optimistic. But I think this might actually be this way in 2029. So let's start with the toughest one first. This is a tough one. Jobs. So everyone is wondering, what will the job market be like in 2029? Or what they're really wondering about is, do I have a job myself? We are selfish, we humans. And I'm here to tell you that the job market in 2029 will be totally different from today. It will be unrecognizable. Probably you have a polarization with two camps. You have one camp which still has, normal jobs, and they're good at them, And you have the other part, which do not have normal jobs anymore, but they do perhaps community service, and they like that. But you will have this kind of polarization. You will see a lot of jobs and a lot of tasks within jobs being automated. So all the dangerous and the boring and the dirty jobs, they will be gone, and no one will miss them. And also the bullshit jobs, we all see them. Why does this job exist? And probably it's because of low wage in that kind of area, and to keep employment high. But those will be gone as well. And probably you will see universal basic income. Now, we don't have time to explain all of that. You can Google it. It's a good idea. We'll get back to it a little bit. So you will see jobs like this, in warehouses. Those are the first to be automated because it's easy, it's straightforward. These are the boring jobs that we really don't want to do. We just do them because we have to earn a living. So that will be automated. I mean, Amazon have 150,000 robots in their enormous warehouses. Of course, they do tasks that was previously being done by human beings. A lot of human beings, almost 500,000. So I often get asked, what should my daughter study? What's the best education now for the future? So in order to address that, I made this very simple 2x2 matrix. I am a consultant. We consultants love 2x2 matrices because they oversimplify everything. Anything can be put into 2 axes and 2 levels. So yes, it is oversimplified, but it still tells you a little bit about what is coming and what you perhaps should do in terms of your kids, your education, your jobs. So pretty straightforward routine, doing the same thing every day. Non-routine is like creative problem solving. Cognitive, working with your head. Manual, working with your arms or your body. So, of course, down here in the blue part, I mean, if you Google AI, all the pictures that come up are bluish. Have you seen? It's quite strange. But anyway, in the blue, okay, there it is. In the blue corner, this is the sweet spot of AI. This is simple. This is straightforward. It's routine-based. It's rule-based. There are drivers. I do believe that autonomous cars will be coming, so I'm probably going to get a question from Luke on that afterwards. Storage work, obviously. So these are, complete jobs that will actually be automated. Top corner. So these people are probably still going to have that kind of job, but they have to reinvent their job. I mean, if you're an accountant, the accounts and the punching, the debit and the credit and all that will be automated. That is being automated as we speak. But they have a really good domain knowledge of financial status and the accounts and, the accounts receivables, etc. So they can actually invent themselves as advisors on that area. Down here, manual, non-routine. I mean, if you have a leakage in your kitchen, you definitely want a human plumber to come, and you want it to come fast with a wrench in his back pocket. But he will also be wearing augmented reality glasses, so he can see where all your pipings in your floor or in your walls are. So he will be quicker and he'll be more precise. He'll do better work. And of course, top level here, this is probably where most of us are, I would guess. And the good thing is that we are safe. We will still have a job in 2029. We will thrive in that job. We'll be even better. We'll be super supported by technology. So this is the 2x2 matrix. You can take that home. You can talk to your 18-year-old daughter, and you can say, do not study to be an accountant or a taxi driver. Do something else. That's my advice. It's for free, almost. So I talked about two groups. First group, I call them techies. That's not because there are engineers or anything like that, but because they are super supported by technology in everything that they do. They will be supported by AI to do scenarios, to do outcomes of different alternatives. You'll have augmented reality to visualize those outcomes so that everyone understands it. And you will also start seeing transhumans. Now, that's not yet another gender. I mean, there are so many of them now. Transhumans are people who have augmented their senses with technology. Could be sight, could be memory, could be vision. You will see a lot of augmented reality going from, the big diving masks of today, which are hopeless, going to normal glasses, going to intelligent lenses, and then going into your retina. And that's probably not the last step either, because the next step is, on nanobots in your bloodstream. We'll get back to that as well. These techies will be really good at what they're doing. They will be, order of magnitude more efficient than they are today. That's all of us. You will see. Okay. You will see surgeons using augmented reality glasses doing precision surgery at a totally new level. You'll also see building site managers, again with augmented reality, supported by AI, making faster, quicker, more informed decisions. Both these areas will be a lot more efficient than they are today. And they don't have to do the routine part of the job because that is automated. So what about the other group, those who don't have a job anymore? The job has been automated. So I've called them socialites, in lack of a better word. These are actually the people who, the author Yuval Harari, some of you might have read *Sapiens* or *Homo Deus* or 20 Lessons, etc. If not, you should. He calls them the unemployable class. Not unemployed, but unemployable. They possess a skill set that no one is willing to pay for. Of course, that is a problem, at least in the short term. And this is the negative part of the talk. The rest will be super positive. I think that this will probably lead to some social unrest before they do something else. But we humans always find a way, don't we? I mean, that's our superpower. We always find a way. These people will also find a way, I think. Perhaps they'll do something else, because maybe the job they did before was quite boring. I mean, like storage work. Probably not doing that because it kind of fulfills you. So maybe they will be, clearing the beaches of plastic. Maybe they'll take care of our elders, which we today, put in a home for the elderly because we need to work. Or maybe they will be taking care of our babies and our younger ones, as we again, put into daycare and kindergarten because we have to work. So isn't it just as valuable, or maybe even more valuable, to take care of our elders or even our younger children than working in a bank or a telco? I think it is. We need to change our mindset. And some of you might say that this sounds like socialism, blood-red socialism. And I've been accused of being a socialist on stage. I don't think I'm a socialist, really. I have a business background. I'm an investor. I like money just as much as the other one. And I think this guy here as well is not really a blood-red socialist. I mean, he's a professor at Harvard Law School. But he says that no one should have to do work that can't be done by a machine. Why should you? I mean, I have a robot vacuum cleaner. Probably a lot of you have them as well. I don't like doing vacuuming. It's boring. The robot can do it for me. I have a robot lawnmower. I don't like mowing the lawn. It's boring. I like to do something else. And the same goes for driving a bus or doing the accounts or doing radiology. But of course, you do need income, which I think that all of you are thinking now. Yeah, sounds good, but what about money? So, income, hard topic. I believe that those who don't have to do the jobs anymore in 2029 will be supported by universal basic income. Next question you ask, how will that be financed? Yes, tough question. I believe it will be financed by taxation. No one goes, yay, we want more taxation. No one wants more taxation. I don't think it's you and me who are going to be taxed more. I think it needs to be the hyper-profitable companies, like Facebook, who hardly pays any tax today. And Facebook has gotten hyper-profitable by using our data that we give them for free. And what do we get in return? You know this from the last talk. You get cat videos. Now, that's a bad deal. That's a bad deal. Mark Zuckerberg is one of the 5 most wealthy people on the planet based on our data. He should give something back. And he's actually open to that. But the systems need to be in place. I think that is universal basic income. I think this is a fantastic question. It's something that we don't think about because we are so into the day-to-day rhythm and the day-to-day grunt work. But think about this. Take it home with you. Ask your partner during dinner this night, what would you do if your income were taken care of? Would you perhaps write that book that you have been thinking about all the while? Would you finish your studies, which you didn't because you had to work? Will you send your son to the doctor, which you can't afford right now? There's a lot of things going on here. We need to think differently. So, that was one big issue. Let's go to another really big issue, climate, saving the environment. So probably this is the biggest challenge we have today. Yes, I know there's a war. Yes, I know there's inflation, etc. Those are small things compared to what's happening with the climate. We need to address this. And do I think that technology can address this? Yes, of course. I said I was an optimist. I'm a tech optimist. I do believe technology can play a large part in this. Then we need to address 3 major issues. Transportation needs to be electric and autonomous. Energy needs to be renewable. And farming needs to be way more efficient than it is today. Those 3 areas together amount to 66% of all CO2 emissions today. If you can address that using technology, we'll have done a lot of good. So let's see if that's possible. So yes, you will get flying cars in 2029. Now, how cool is that? I want a flying car. Who wants a flying car? Yes, I mean, we should all want a flying car. Cars will be autonomous, they will be electric. In the cities, almost no one will own a car. It will be a subscription service. You will have a lot of different configurations to choose from. You can have sleeper cars to take you big distances. You can have party cars going down to the pub. You can have cheap cars or you can have luxurious cars. But you will not own them and you will not drive them. And energy. Solar will be the cheapest energy source. And these electric and autonomous transportation is all around the world. In my home country, Norway, 60% of all new cars are electric. This is coming. And of course, when you have autonomous electric cars, the charging areas for those will be outside of the city. What happens then? What happens to parking spots? You don't need parking spots anymore. Ah, interesting. In San Francisco, 17% of real estate are parking lots. 17%. This can be parks, playground, even urban farming instead. Parking lots is a waste of area. So a lot of things will happen if you make transportation electric, autonomous, and you have renewable energy. I also mentioned farming. Now let's address farming while we also look at another area, and that is hunger. Now, hunger is a hard topic, especially in Europe. Our problem is not that we have too little food. Our problem is that we have too much food. We eat too much. I know, yes. So we need to go to the gym. But for those who are affected, this is serious business. And it's actually quite a few people. 11% of the world population, that means more than 800 million people, are actually hungry. They go to bed hungry every day. Again, do I think that technology can address this? What do you think? Yes, of course I think that technology can play a large part into this. Some people have even calculated what does it take to actually buy yourself out of this problem. And they came up with the number $30 billion yearly. Then you can eradicate global hunger. May sound like a large number. It's actually less than 5% of the US defense budget, or 1.7% of the cost of the Iraq war. So it's possible to do it, but no one is willing to pay. And then we are left with technology. So what happens with technology and food? So you will see cultivated food made in laboratories, indistinguishable from natural food, eliminating food waste, optimal nutritional balance, reducing the problems with farting cows and all that. You will also see hydroponic farming done indoors. Everything is controlled by AI, water, light, temperature, everything. No pesticides since it's done indoors. Very efficient since it's multiple stories. And already today, this is 300 times more area efficient than normal farming. So something has to be done there. And when you do farming indoors, you can actually produce anything, anywhere, at any time. You could produce strawberries on the North Pole in January, if you would like. But probably it's more going to be, farms on top of your local grocery store or your supermarket. That is coming. So take a look at this guy entering a restaurant, having his face scanned, checking his metabolic status, suggesting what kind of ingredients he really needs, and then 3D printing a piece of sushi with exactly those ingredients. Now, does that sound like science fiction to you? Yes? The thing is, that restaurant actually opened last year in Tokyo. So if you combine cultivated food with hydroponic farming and 3D printing food, you will see that food will be local. It will be produced locally. You don't have to transport it from one part of the planet to another part of the planet. Again, saving CO2 emissions. It will be nutritious. It will be cheap. And isn't it about time that we eradicate the shameful fact that 800 million people are starving in the world? I think so. So, now we addressed 3 areas. Last one is healthcare. Or is it healthcare? It's really sick care, isn't it? Because what happens is we get sick, we go to the doctor, we get a few pills, Hopefully we get better. That's sick care. That's not healthcare. It's reactive. We need to switch to a proactive healthcare where we focus on staying healthy. And then we need sensors to monitor everything that's happening in our body to make sure that we make the good choices and to motivate us to make the good choices. So how many of you have these smartwatches on your hand? Can see you raise your hands? Yeah, a lot of people. And these watches are getting smarter and smarter. They're now measuring your blood pressure. They're doing your insulin levels and more. And you get a lot more sensors. You have sensors on your finger, in your underwear, on your clothes, or even under your skin. I actually have 4 friends who have a sensor in the hand like that. That probably says a lot about me, but it's coming. You will also start seeing nanobots, small robots injected into your bloodstream to keep you healthy, fighting off viruses, removing congestion in your bloodstreams, but also fighting cancer. Already today, there are nanobots, well, so far only in pigs, but who has fought off cancer. So this might sound a little bit creepy, I guess. I think so myself. But you must remember, it's a nanobot. It's nano size. So a nanometer is 1 billionth of a meter. And, these bots will be the size, the distance that your fingernail grows in 1 second. That is very small. You will not notice it. It will not go clank, clank, clank when you're walking. It will not make any sound on the airport in the security control. So it will be as ordinary as taking your vaccine to do your nanobots. Your doctor will say, do your nanobots, Lars. And I will say, okay. I don't know what they are. I don't know what they're doing, but I'll take them anyway. I don't know what was in the vaccine I did for the COVID either. I don't even know what's in chicken McNuggets. Who does? So this will be a huge thing. It's coming. But, that will be very borderline 2029. So is this science fiction? No, it's actually just science. And it all starts with data, a lot of data. And of course, you know this. This data can be used for exactly the things that I've been talking about now. So we can use data to make the world better, not just make the bank a little bit more profitable or make the telcos understand which customers are leaving them. We can also use it for good, AI for good. The problem is people don't trust this. When I give this talk, people say, well, I haven't seen this happening yet, so I don't trust you. I don't think this is going to be the future. And what they're doing is that they're misunderstanding linear development from exponential development. And probably some of the data scientists in the room will nod and understand this, of course. Probably some of you might have seen this before. I will still go through it because I see so many people not understanding this. So I will explain it with an example. So if you do 30 linear steps, 1 meter at a time, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, how far do you go in 30 meters? Yeah, I hear mumbling about 30. Yep, that is about correct. So far, so good. So what if you take 30 exponential steps, doubling for every step? 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, etc. How far do you go then? Yeah, there's mumbling about very far. That's wrong. No, sorry, it's actually right, but it's a bit inaccurate. You actually go 1 billion meters. Now, how far is 1 billion meter? Well, that's actually 26 times around the equator. And this is a key message, because if you think that the technology development moves at the speed of 30 meters, whereas it can actually be proven that it moves in the speed of 26 times equator, then you will be disrupted. On the other hand, if you understand this, then you understand the power of exponential technologies. You know that a chatbot that is perhaps not fantastic today, it will be good next year. It will be perhaps really, really good in 2 years because of exponential development. Then you can actually use those kind of technologies to gain an advantage. And we all know that the early adopters into AI and machine learning have already gotten that kind of advantage. Whereas the majority of companies are still sitting on the fence, looking at what's happening, not understanding anything. And I think they will be disrupted. The ones who have already gotten a head start will just keep advancing. So this is a key message. 1 billion meters is more than 30 meters. You should understand this. So, that was a bit quick. We'll go one back, perhaps. I mean, we can do fantastic things with machine learning, but clickers, that's really hard. Come on. There we are. The deception of linear versus exponential. So we misunderstand this. Of course, computation doubles every 18 months. That's Moore's law. It's still in place. It's still going to be in place. And we misunderstand this. But this is actually what makes everything I've talked about possible. So think about 3D printing. When did you first hear about 3D printing? Who heard about it 5 years ago? Let me see a show of hands. That should be a lot of you, yes. What about 10 years ago? Yeah, a few left. What about 20 years ago? No. So 3D printing is a more than 30 years old technology. Of course, started in some kind of garage in California. It always starts in some kind of garage in California for some reason. And then it has developed exponentially every year since. And now we are 3D printing houses, food, even blood vessels. So this is what is happening. And I believe that the future can be fantastic. I think we can eradicate poverty using universal basic income. I think we need to do that. I think we can tackle climate change and CO2 emissions. I think we definitely can do something about the food situation and hunger. And we absolutely should go from reactive sick care to proactive healthcare. So I'm an optimist. I've said that many times now. I hope that you can also be optimistic in terms of AI and the potential. So let's make the future fantastic for us and for the future generations. Thank you.
Okay, we got a couple of minutes for questions. Are there any questions already? I don't see them yet. I can ask one. Sorry. Do we have?
Why did you choose 2029 specifically?
I chose 2029 specifically because that's a milestone. At that time, the development of technology, the computational rate really, will be the same as the human brain. So when people ask me, what do you think will happen in 2030? I say, I have no idea. I can tell you what will happen probably in 2029, 2030, no idea. 2040, that's Hollywood.
But what about 2015? It is also 7 years from now. Is this the world you were thinking of in 2015?
7 years back?
Yeah. Because I'm trying to figure out this 7 years gap.
Yeah. No, I don't think so, really.
Is it better or worse?
We started doing AI in my company in 2016. I had thought about it for a number of years, but at the time it was big data, cold big data. You didn't have the same compute power. You had a lot less data. and a lot of the algorithms were not as good as it is today. So also, like you heard Luke talk about, the development has been, gradual, but definitely exponential. I mean, starting with recognizing cats, we went on to recognizing faces and to recognizing anything. That happened in 2017. Now, ImageNet was then better than human beings in recognizing things. And now we're taking the same technology, turning that around, making images. I think there's an art exhibition here, something, with AI art. That is based on exactly the same thing. So, but again, it's exponential.
So you would say it's not that bad. I mean, it is maybe better than you would predict in 2015.
Some of the
In
things,
some areas.
yes, some of the things I did not see coming at all. I mean, that we could just, with a text prompt, make art that looks fantastic. I mean, I tried it myself, moose in sunset in the style of Gauguin. Well, wasn't very good, but it's still fun. And people spend a lot of time doing this. And then you also have exhibits.